Unbelievable.
Hello. Today I'm going to be doing a review of a tier 7. And the reason I'm doing tier 7 is because it was recently the Ace Challenge event, and it was basically grind as many aces in American tanks tiers 5 to 10 as you possibly could. And I chose to grind pretty much all of my aces, I think, but one or two maybe, in this tank. So I got about 40 aces, I think, over 10 days in this tank. I'm just going to be highlighting a few of the best games I had here and explaining why I think this tank is probably honestly the best sealed clubber tier for tier, or at least one of. So basically, to start off, M41, slight tank, really good mobility, turret traverse, you're never going to be circled by anything, you're going to be the one doing the circling. So you're a nightmare for slow-moving TDs, and you have about 2,500 effective DPM without adrenaline. Obviously, I switch adrenaline on here. My shell reload goes down to about 3 seconds, and you're pushing upwards of about 3,000 sort of effective DPM, provided you're hitting all your shots and things. And especially, you're going to come up against tanks like this SP1C, where you can use your high explosive. I actually run quite a lot of high explosive. I run 15 shells, just because obviously at these tiers you get quite a few light armor tanks and it's quite useful to have them. But basically, why do I love this tank? I just think it's a super strong tank that people really don't play in the right way. So you can see there, I was just hella farming off the rest of those guys who are up there, and they weren't focusing me at all. And that's the thing with this tank is, a lot of people, what I've seen, when I've been playing it, and what I know is people end up getting focused and tunneled when they really don't need to be. And I think the way that I play this tank definitely is to sort of definitely not be the centre of attention, be a support tank, be the one that's able to sort of flank around the side and eventually get into a position where you can use the rest of your team as basically an extra bit of HP for you to use to get your shots off. So see here, I'm only taking one shot and I'm already on, what, 3k pretty much? Yeah, one more shot and I'll be on 3k. I think that one misses actually, but yeah, I don't even get the shot off. But as you can see, we've already down to 3-2. I'm a bit wary of this KV because obviously this is the downside to the M41 is if you do get tunneled and you have a tank like a KV or an SU-152, any 152mm is going to be slapping you very hard. So you always have to be worried. Not so much worried as maybe careful around these tanks. And yeah, this here, ping spike, obviously don't go ramming tanks in this because you're never going to win a ram and you're just going to lose a lot of damage. But I mean, that's the thing. Luckily, because I hadn't been this center of attention or focused, I luckily had the hit points to be able to sort of take that shot. And obviously T29 is another really strong tank. And that's another tank that I'd be quite worried about because it does have the decent alpha gun and can take quite a walloping out of you if you're not careful. However, that's one great thing about the tank is the mobility meant there I was easily able to circle him. And I think any heavy tank, tier 6, 7, or even beginning to get to 8, like the Lurv or anything, they might look intimidating or scary at first, but as long as you're not face-hugging them when you're going around the side. The only tank I ever really have trouble penning is the Lycan, I think, just because it's got such weird troll armor. And because one downside of this tank is obviously the pen isn't great. I think you've got about 200, let me just check. You've got sort of roughly 200mm pen with your heat shell. And that's good enough for a lot of things. It's not like Type 62 level where you could pen a mouse or whatever, but if you're just using APCR, which you will for the majority of the time, you're down only about 155. So you've got to really be making sure you're hitting the right parts of a tank, and you do still get troll bounces, but I think it's sort of managing your shots well, because I see so many people bouncing when they're throwing this, and I know from times when I've been, say, playing a KV4 or something, and I've had one of these on my rear bouncing pretty much every shot, simply because they can't aim or something. Yeah, that's a weird shot there, I don't know what happens there. But yeah, this is the thing, like, any kind of trade you can do, you're probably going to win the DPM battle if it's a tier 6. I don't think there's any tier 6 really that that can out DPM you, and you're going to be quite an annoyance. But if you're isolated, if you're alone, you can get very quickly deleted off a map. So you never really want to sort of play without a teammate. Like, see, you can see here I'm working with this American Sherman here, and I see, look, my team's all down here. They're all pretty isolated. That was a nice max ranch there on high explosive. And as you see, yeah, the high explosive does come in, it does become quite useful at times. However, don't rely on it to always pen, because it's high explosive. An RNG is never your friend. So see there, but that was like okay for me, because I knew I could still put him down to one shot, and with this ridiculous reload time, I knew he was never going to be able to get away from me and still survive. And you see this game here, we were losing this flank, so I had to come over here quite quickly, do something about it. And you can permatrack like that. Like the M41, he was going nowhere. I basically kept him on the ropes with those tracking shots, and he was done for. And now it's sort of about working with the M4 as well as I can. And I can see he's getting rushed. Like, it'll be losing battle to go in there with him as well. So I'm just going to try and wait, see if he can come around anymore. And if they're pulling out, I'm going to try and get one more shot off and then just run around. Because we have quite... Yeah, that was an unlucky shot. We have quite a significant cap point advantage, but they do have the 2 caps. So what I'm going to try and do is, I think, well, if I can just get into C, I can probably hold off C for as long as I need to be able to sort of get them to come around here. So what I'm basically doing is I'm baiting them to come down here. I'm going to take a long route round. Hopefully I get my camo unspotted. Make them think I'm going that way. They're going to poke around here. Unfortunately, yeah, that Taiwan does spot me. I wasn't expecting him to build there. I was expecting him to actually be covering cap. And yeah, you do get RNG sometimes. Like, just here, this shot probably wins me the game because, boom, 875 ammo rack. And without that, I don't know if I'd have won, but as you can see, we're now up on cap points. There's nothing they can do. Yes, they can try and reset me. Doesn't even happen because his shot gets sort of track moved, but there we go. It's a really nice tank to sort of say Kolobanov in like that, because you do have the mobility. They were all really slow heavies. I mean, yeah, ARL isn't that slow. It's more like a heavium, but with heavy armor, because the ARL is pretty broken. But I was able to maneuver easily around them, and there's nothing they could really do there about that. And I think, yeah, this is a game as a tier 8 game as well, and it copes alright, I think, with tier 8s. Like, it's never going to be able to win a 1v3 if the rest of the team's tier 8s, but you'd expect that. It'll be bottom tier. But the one thing that I think really does let it down when you're in tier 8 battles is, again, the pen. Because obviously you're going to be coming up against IS-3s, IS-5s, Object 252Us, VQ-100s, where you have to get around them to be able to pen them. Like, you can't just pen them frontally. Like, an IS-5 is just completely red, even if you switch to heat, if it's properly angled. So what you're going to have to be doing is really sort of trying to get into the flanks and getting behind people in order to be able to do anything. It's like here, this IS-3, you can see how red he is. I know I've got to get sort of round him. And I'm fairly confident nobody's down there, because the heavy tank down there that's just gone out route doesn't get spotted up by anything. And I know he's going to have drawn the IS-3's attention. So I'm able to use the T-44 and the IS-3 down there as basically a distraction. So I can come around, shove on the adrenaline. Unlucky shot there, but I am able to clear him really easily. I think that's what this tank excels with, is your support play, because you're never going to be the one front-lining in this. You're just going to be a massive HE target for pretty much everything, because the side of your turret is super weak, front of your tank, the hull is super weak as well. I'd honestly say the armor is less reliable than SP, just because an SP sometimes does get those troll bounces, but it's so good when you play at support role. And I think I have, something like 4,500 win 8 in it over this time, simply because I play a very sort of passive game where I'm not rushing in to kill anyone. I'm not wasting shots. Like, I can see from BitStars that the average damage somebody does in this tank in a game is 780, pretty much. And that's, like, it's so much better than what the stats say on Blitzstars. It's like it's the worst American light and medium tank in terms of damage per battle, win rate. It comes very close to. I think T20 is slightly worse than that, but if played correctly, it can be absolutely devastating, because you can see here, I haven't taken a single shot all game. I'm already up onto 2k, because I'm not letting the enemies have a shot on me. I'm letting them focus the tanks around me, and while they're basically all just bogged down with firing at other tanks, I'm able to come in and use and abuse my my 2500 DPM, and if I was up against that SP1C like that, it gets up even higher. It's just crazy amounts of DPM for a tier 7 like this. And as you can see, we're in a bit of a sticky situation here. The Teeth overall probably shouldn't have rushed in like that. He'll easily get nuked. And it's like, what am I doing here? Well, there's an SP here. And yeah, I was suffering from ping again in this game. I think my internet's been really bad the past month or so. Dunks constantly turn me off in tournaments and stuff, but that's a story for another day. But I know I can just basically out DPM this guy, and that I'm able to pretty much COD him into missing that shot. And he's a light tank like me, because this thing just has such great traverse, great top speed of about, I think, 72 kilometers. So yeah, it's just such a ridiculously good tank to play like that. As you can see, this game very nearly over. I've got 5 kills, and I kind of wasted a lot of my HP taking this. But what I knew is I could tell that we were high in cap, and I knew that this T44, he wasn't ever going to sort of come down for me. Yeah, I kind of get lucky there. I know I can put one more shot off before he reloads, and then I'm just going to run, because I can see, oh look, we're high up on cap. He's not going to be able to catch me in time, and really unfortunately here, as you see, oh, I actually just completely lag out of the game, and my game crashes. But never mind, in the end we still win, still do about 3.8k, and it just shows how sort of, when you're playing this tank as a support tank, how useful it can be in a game, because without me basically just death by 1,000 sort of cuts into the side of the enemy, there was no way we would have won this. And running this in a tune is also really effective, because you do have a lot of really good your DPM is like 5k effective combined, and see another big weird ping spike there. I was actually trying to just get into this corner here where I can spot up tanks that are crossing over here. Now unfortunately for my my teammate Rambo, he's going to get nuked pretty hard, because I'm going to push up here. Didn't think they were around here, but oh wait, hold on, nope, they all are here. If that heavy's there, the heavy wouldn't be coming across here without sort of any kind of support. So yeah, I was expecting other tanks to pop up at the same time. And now I'm just going to run. Unfortunately for Rambo, he's stuck on the corner. There's not much he can really do, and I think he might actually get nuked by the worm, I think, is what happens. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate for him. But as you can see, like, oh, it's not the worm. I don't know, but he gets nuked anyway. Worm there gets nuked. But yeah, like this tank, I'm just sort of trying to find positions where I can best farm. And honestly, that's where you're going to do best in this game. It's just like in this tank, farming with your teammates, using as much of their hit points to put damage in as possible, because here they're not focusing me. Like, they can only turn their turret onto one tank at a time, and they can only shoot one tank at a time, and it makes no sense for them to sort of try and basically reduce their effective DPM on one tank by trying to shoot 2 at the same time, and only lowering us by a little bit. So yes, they might have the caps right now, and they might have the cap point advantage, but it doesn't really matter, because this thing's so good at just support fire, getting round behind tanks. Like, this AT is toast. There's nothing he can do here. My reload is just stupid, and I'm just popping shells off left, right and centre, right into his tank. And as you can see, I'm not actually going to poke forward. Oh, actually I do. Never mind. Probably just because I think, well, we can get the kill, and that puts it onto a pretty fairly winnable game. I think I do clear that in the end. And I think, yeah, I would have gone for A, but I see somebody else is starting to cap it. And I realise that the main focus of battle is going to be down in this right-hand side, right channel of the sort of town side. So what I'm basically doing here is, yeah, awful bounce there. Because, you know, Orange is God's never going to let me have any respite. But isolated tanks are your favourite things, because it means if you're working with a teammate with them, especially a toon mate, they can only focus one of you, and they're going to get nuked hella quickly. As you can see here, this poor 59 pattern makes a big mistake of trying to go for all three of us and just gets absolutely nuked. And now it's a 4v2. However, they do have a cap point advantage, and yeah, the Emil was going, like, there's no way he's going to win that. God, give him a cookie if he did. But as you can see here, I decide, well, I'm just going to also... Yeah, this is one thing that I do also like about Sank is you can choose to be the centre of attention and run away. Because I really wanted to separate the two tanks. They're both pretty decently armoured tanks. I can't remember if they were the toon, if they were a toon or not. But like, he doesn't fall for it, unfortunately, which tells me also I should probably go back in. Rambo is also keeping me updated on the status of the Chrysler, and all of a sudden, oh, it's not quite as winnable as I might have thought. However, boom. They're just focusing this room. I'm able to come in behind, and what do you know? It's another easy clean-up game. I think this one and the first one I had were both Hall of Fame games. Yeah, that was unfortunate. I hit his gun on the side of his tank. And yeah, and this is where the tank does struggle. It's like, I know for a fact that APCR here even on the lower plate wasn't going to pen at all. So you do have to sort of, you will be using quite a lot of heat if you want to play this tank effectively. But in the long run, it's tier 7. As long as you've got premium time, you're not going to be burning through your credits at any rate, just because it shows us so small, it costs so much, so little even. And as you can see there, easily able to just circle around this guy, use the other tank's protection, and it was an easy kill. And yeah, I think that's like the main takeaway from this is just how easy it is to play this tank well, as long as you're playing in a support role. And really, if you play support, you play passive, farm off your teammates, it's going to win you games. Anyway, nice of you to watch all the way through the video if you have, and I'll see you next time. GG's.